Please say your name after the tone and then press 7.
David Ways.
Thank you. Please wait while we try to connect your call. Please wait. We are trying to connect you. You are now connected.
Hi.
Hello, Peter. This is David Ways calling from the United States. How are you, sir?
Oh, yes.
I so much appreciate you allowing me to speak with you. I've been researching John's work, and I'm trying to understand it and help keep that dream alive for the future. And I heard your name come up on one of the videos, and so I searched on Facebook just to see if I could find you. And you resemble your brother, and I so much appreciate you responding.
Yeah, I better tell you something. I'm disabled. I'm 86, and I had a bad stroke. But I have documentary and film evidence of I was in the background, you see, because John kept pushing the flying saucers and everyone said he was a lunatic. So I just stayed in the back and sort of controlled a lot of what was going on from the behind the scenes. But in doing so, I've got documents and books that he's published and stuff in stock, you know. But I've also got I come up with a solution to his problem of, and I had to sue the patents office because they said that the idea I put forward to get a government grant to finish to actually build what we call a proof of concept model. I already got a little working model, but you need a bigger model, you know. And they said that I was a nutcase, it was perpetual motion. So I sued them, but they settled out of court. But the barrister, who was one of the top barristers in this country, suddenly found out that you can't be an expert in synastry or synastry, depending on your dialect. You see, and that's exactly what this technology is. It's never been done before. But now what I'm trying to do, I built a new rig, like a Meccano set, because I think we can build it in a much more simpler form. The trouble is, I've been in lockdown for 2 years, but I also had a very bad accident in February and injured my neck and smashed my breastbone right down the middle.
Sorry to hear that.
At the minute, I can't do much.
Yeah, it's a big task. It's a big task.
To speak from memory. But I've got all the books, papers. I've got a DVD set already done at what I call part 1 of the invention, showing some of the experimental work that was done and the team. But John had a very bad, nasty habit, you see, and I've got proof of that because of Fisher, who was supporting John when he was down in Berkshire. He wrote up that John doesn't really know how to do the practical, and when somebody comes up with a practical solution, he turns on them. Now, right in the end, John turned on me when I solved almost the last problem. So when I solved the last problem of how to make it run and regulate it all, I didn't give him that information. He tried to set me up, you know, to try to discredit me. But it was a shame. But I heard that John died, but they didn't have time to tell me where or date, but they said it was 2018. But I'd been hospitalised tonight, you see, so I couldn't follow it up, and I can't work the internet because of the stroke. So one of the care workers brought me an iPad, put me on the internet, and then every now and again I managed to get the Facebook to open up, and I looked to see if there's anything on there. Well, when he was with me the other day, he brought up the Facebook and tried to teach me, but I won't remember, you see. I've got to repetitive. I have to do everything repetitive. Now, anything I've done in the past, I remember, because it's in the long term, but anything in the short term brain cells are down to about 10% as a sort of a terrible stroke.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So, but like I say, it's a shame you couldn't have had a trip over here for a little holiday. And everything you want, you find there. Absolute proof of everything.
Is there a way?
This little Meccano model I was building, I call it Meccano. It's a thing that you can alter anything, any specification, and change it by just unplugging, plugging in, or unbolting, and it just putting another different bit in. And I want to see if we can do it without using neodymium. It's the one, I can't pronounce it properly, obviously, because of stroke. But it's so rare, it's controlled by the Chinese. We need to either find an alternative that acts in the same way. And incidentally, just for the record, they had an international renewable energy conference in London at the Barbican. Do you remember that?
I wasn't there. I'm just starting to research.
Did you hear about it?
I heard of several conferences, but maybe not that specific. Oh, brilliant.
And they invited me a week before the thing, after they discovered that I summoned the patent's office for calling me and that their expert said, he said, the phrase their expert said, there's no such thing as experts in sanitary scientry. So I hit them with that ace. So they settled that to be 40,000 to shut up and paid for the barrister. And we called the case off. And they invited me to speak at the meeting. And you'll see my name on there, Pete Searl, Dual Corporation. We set up a company, a limited company, to exploit the money and tried to develop it. But then, in a few months, I had a massive stroke. Put me in hospital for some while.
Sorry to hear that.
And two of the directors went and stripped the bank of their money. And then when I came out of hospital, they tried to say it was me. The bank records show that couldn't have been me, because I was in the intensive care for 3 weeks before the date and 4 weeks after the date. So there's no way I could have done it. So when I recovered, I sued them, because I got the company house to straight the company off. And that was as far as we got publicly, you know?
Difficult.
So it's just an outline of how it went. But I can assure you, I have enough stuff here for anyone to build one.
Wow.
At the minute, I'm trying to hang on to the trick that makes it work, because I'm hoping to leave it to a charity that's in desperate need of money, so they can get the royalty, you know?
That's nice.
So that they get the patent. Now, it's all set up. I've got legal representatives, everything now. And what they call power of attorneys. And they look after, if anyone gives me any hassle, they step in and they take it over now. So, but I still got all the laws governing everything that we're doing. And like I said, it would be nice to put together a what I call an independent version, because it's nearly always John's version that's going out.
Mm-hmm.
But I do need to know, because I've got the family history, and I tried to find I want to put the death certificate in the book, along with his mum, and we ain't got his dad, but we can't confirm his dad.
Yes, he is. John? John is
traced
passed away.
our line right back to 1300. So, that's not bad.
I'd like to be able to help you. We've set up that website. If you look on the message in Facebook, we have just a website with John's documents, and we're making them accessible to anybody online. And if you have anything, if you want to add anything to that, so that we can learn, I think this information is now with you and a few small groups, but I think the population at large needs to understand it. And I have some smart young kids that are just trying to prove that it's real before they put their time into it. They, for whatever reason, people can't believe that it can happen, and they don't put the effort in. If you have any video or document that shows one of these old demo ones, or the P11 flying, maybe that would.
Those old things that most of the old film footage has all been destroyed. You see, what's happened? We got police raids, the secret police, as we call them. The special security unit of the government employs. Men in black, as we call them. They come in a blacked out circle, about a dozen of them, and they raid you, and they take everything that's to do with the work you're doing. And until they took over the back seat, I then set up a safe place, well away from the normal place, where I kept the records and like that we needed. That's why the early stuff is very limited. It's just a little bit that's been found about. It's why the quality of the prints are not very good.
Mm-hmm.
But all the more recent stuff that I was directly controlled openly when I took charge of the thing, in England, that's all on high definition DVD and stuff,
Is it working? Do you have a working prototype that's...
No, I haven't got... The only working model I had is in Thailand. I had to use... They banned the English people from demonstrating it on the telly. The chap on the science program, silly bag, I told him, don't publish this is being shown on the telly, because the government are getting injunctions to stop it. They're trying to stop this thing. I said, I'm having a losing battle with them. And they went and published it. The night they were due to show it, they put on the screen, they're very sorry, they've got an injunction banning it as unsafe. This is what led to the, where they said, their experts said, that it was dangerous, perpetual motion, it won't work. Now, how can it be dangerous if it won't work? Contradictory terms.
Mm-hmm.
But the outcome was, like I said, that what I had to do was, I had a millionaire chap financing me. And he was a friend of the King of Thailand, not the young king that's on there now, but his dad. And in 2007, late, he sent his own aircraft over with a senior scientist. He set up a laboratory to try to help to develop their own renewable energy and that,
Mm-hmm.
And they took the thing back with them. They signed the agreement with me, bloke with the machine that we had running. That was the model, the proton model, and there was no regulator on it yet. I've already designed that, and I've got that all working to regulate it. You see, what happened, the more current you drawed, the faster the thing would run. But the trouble was we get to a point where it ices up.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had to regulate it so it won't go over that. You with me?
Yep.
It won't get to that point. Well, that works, so I do. Now, what we've done, the chap filmed it and sent me the film footage with a written statement saying that this is sinetary, depending on your dialect, and therefore there's no such thing as an expert who can tell you what the results should be. However, it's a revolutionary idea of mixing 6 different technologies together in a way they've never been intended or ever tested. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Searl, they call it the PEPS, not the SEG, the one I've done.
Mm-hmm.
You with me?
Yeah.
So the PEPS is my initials, Peter Eric Paul Searl, PEPS.
Gotcha.
Now that identifies the version. This is for copyright and patents.
Mm-hmm.
To make sure I can prove that the version that this is, that the technology employed, is different from the technology John employed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a part of it overlaps. You with me?
Yeah.
Now, John has published all the stuff that overlaps. He's published it.
Yep.
So you can't patent it.
Exactly.
But I can patent the bit that I've put into it that makes it tick.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we're holding that information back until we can get someone who can knock up the new parts for us. And I've got all the test gear here, all the laboratory gear, still got it.
Right.
So I've got but it's the neodymium that's my problem. I was hoping to find a university somewhere that might be able to produce a combination of materials that will act exactly like the neodymium. Now, what you're looking for is a metal material that cannot be permanently magnetized. That when it's put near a magnet, it will multiply the magnetic energy by 4 or more units, however you like to word it. Now, my test here has got all the different names for the different parts of the world, you know, the names they call the different magnets. And what I want to do is that when you pass a standard magnet through the magnetic field that these produce, they will cause a waveform to form. Now it's that waveform that you use to propel it.
Mm-hmm.
But it also causes it to produce energy. You with me?
Yes.
By putting induction coils in the field.
Yes.
Right. Now, basically, what we got to do, if we can find something that could be manufactured in America or England or somewhere without having the Chinese involved, we could go ahead overnight and produce a proof of concept and have it running.
Brilliant.
But we can't if we got to rely on the Chinese, because they insist on building the bloody thing.
What about Thailand? Couldn't he build one with the demonstration model you have?
No, because I can't get it back. It's locked in Thailand now.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've got to get it out of the country and get the proof for the prosecution, you see, that it was safe, to show the bloke holding his hand over it and things like that. And then he wrote out a full statement of the test he'd give it, and it was as safe as houses, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So you do you have that video of it working?
Yeah, I got that video.
Can we share that, or would you be able to share that information?
No, I won't put it over the air. I won't put anything on the internet or Facebook, anything that's technical. I've done that. It's so sensitive, you know what I mean? I don't want it to. If I put it, I could show you that, and then I'd lose all rights to. You wouldn't get a patent. You published it.
Yeah, I see.
You see, the law of copyright is you must not publish it.
Right.
To the public.
Right.
Now, you can two ways of you can publish it to prove ownership. You can send it under registered mail to yourself or to a friend.
Mm-hmm.
You with me?
Yes.
Now that is then, and they're going to keep the package when they take the thing out, and then give you the thing back, but keep the package, and that proves that you have published the rights to establish they're your rights. You see?
Yes.
But that's all you can do. But to get the patent, you got to remember that you've got to make sure no one else gets hold of that information. Otherwise, it's general publication. That's it. You lose the right to copyright.
Yeah, but is that necessary? Can we not just make it and just get it out there?
It brings in millions of pounds, or dollars if you're in America. They come in by the millions to this idea. Now, the thing is, that money could do a lot of good for a charity, to support charities, you know, that support poor people, people in trouble, people who are disabled, like that. Now,
do you
the thing is, that's what I'm aiming for.
Do you use the law of the squares?
Do with the money. I don't want the rich companies to pocket all the money.
Exactly.
You with me?
Yeah.
They're the ones, the people who can manufacture it, because we never be able to do it. You'd have to contract the manufacturing to companies. They're going to pocket millions, but they ain't going to pay you nothing unless you can hold on to the copyright. Then you get that money comes in each year. It goes into a charity fund, and then you do things with it.
Yeah, but if you disclose it to the public, then nobody can patent it, and then it's out there, and we can build it. And
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not the patent. The public, any company can manufacture something that's not the copyright. That means they get all the profit, all of it.
Because they're set up to do it right away.
Yeah, you don't feel it, do you? They get all the profit. It goes to the shareholders and the owners of the companies. They don't do any good to the public. The public don't get any help because you've given them the information. You've given them the information for free, but they can't cash in on it, but the manufacturers of the equipment will.
I understand.
Yeah, you follow that line of thought. I've had to give this a lot of thought, and I've had years of thinking about it.
Yeah, but do they understand the law of the squares that makes it work? Do you understand those?
Tell you the truth, between you and me, you don't need that information.
You don't think you need the law of the squares?
The basic principle was based on the law of the squares. But to actually build it, you don't need the law of the squares. And this is where John used the law of the squares to baffle people. Mm-hmm. See, John was doing two things. He was trying to keep this out of the hands of investors who was going to make a fortune out of it, and keep control of it for himself so he could decide what's going to happen to it. Well, fair enough, that was fair enough. But at the same time, he couldn't grasp that if you give it away free, it's not free, it's free from you, but you are now penniless, and the people who are going to build it are making a fortune out of you, and they just don't want to know you. You follow me?
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Yeah, it happens all the time, yeah. There's a lot of famous inventions that fell that way. Where they try to do the right thing, only to find that they cut their own throats and make other people rich.
But you know what? If the information and technology's out there and people have free energy devices and one corporation gets super rich, who cares if they get super rich? Everybody gets rich because they have free power. You know, let some crook build it and make it.
I don't think you will get free power. But what I thought of, and I said to John, I talked to John about what you need 4 group classes of generator. One that can be used in mobile units like police cars, ambulances, and workmen, tradesmen working on building sites and that. Then you want an intermediate size for households to run the house. Now that would be free energy because you have your own generator built into your house. That I don't think the government will let you get away with. I think you'll have to have a license or something to run one. And like you do, we have to do with a telly. They pay hundreds of pounds a year to watch the telly per license. You see what I mean? Nothing. The government won't let you have nothing free. And this is where people keep fooling themselves. I mean, in all my years, I've seen that even the getting buried now, and that the council takes the biggest amount of money from the funeral costs. They take the biggest share of it. You want to see the price? Up here, they went up price last year, £20 a funeral cremation, £20 each time, and twice in 1 year. I haven't heard what it's gone up this year, but it's just an example. And the newspapers having a survey with it, saying they're the only people ripping everyone off.
Mm-hmm. Do you know that there's a patent already been approved in the United States for a spintronic generator that's based on John's technology?
Yeah, I've heard of that, but it depends on the principle it actually runs. The basic principle, anyone can have the basic principle, but it's the final principle that makes it actually work. That is the key to this.
Yep. And is that the law of the squares?
If you understand the law, I studied the law, you see. I used to be an advocate at the advocacy. I used to fight court cases, mainly consumer, which is contract work, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then when the disabled laws come in here, I took them up, and I won case after case. I never lost any.
Brilliant.
And I say proud, I took on Bang & Olufsen and the local store in Newbury I made history. I got them for the Trade Description Act that came in.
Good.
I was the first to do it. They put every argument you can mention at this big fancy QC, which is the top policy you get, and in this study, up against me. And he thought he should walk all over me. And next thing, he was almost in tears by the judge turned around and said, "You have a lot to learn, Mr. So-and-so," and he called him by his name. He said, "And here's a boy that's taught you a lesson. You cannot assume that you are right 100% of the time because the other party doesn't really know what his rights are."
Mm-hmm.
And I won it.
Good job. So
I had to kick out a sitting MP so I could get my disability benefits that I was entitled to. I got £47,000 in all when I won the 6 cases. That was paid back, paying overdue pensions, disability pensions, the interest on them for 4 years, and
very good.
And then I got car license, road fund license back because disabled drivers can have they don't have to pay the road fund license and that sort of thing. But
very good.
all in my house. you'll see there's big picture frames and there's loads of photos in it. You'll see stuff from my disco technology, which a lot of firms are now paying me royalty for some of the ideas that some of the sound, to get a particular sound in a particular room, and how I done it. And they've got a license from the authority that runs it for me. So I get money coming in, but it's not enough to do much good, you know?
It's difficult. How?
Because you got to pay administration costs, you know, each about 30 or 40% of the money before you start. But in there you see pictures of systems I've built. You see write-ups, then you see lawsuits I've had. Some are just samples of lawsuits and how they went.
Did you see? I'm sorry to interrupt, but were you there when the Demo 1 took off and P11? I mean, how many crafts did you actually see fly?
Yeah, but you see, these work on a different technology. I don't know what the confusion is there. John had a different, when he done those little flying saucer things, they were driven by a different system. It was more like a cafe ray tube. It wasn't the ring and roller system.
Really? The flying discs were. It looks like they had the Demo 1 was made with the ring and rollers, was it not?
He had a generator, a little generator, but it didn't run properly because he couldn't keep it continuously running. And that is, if he could have done, I wouldn't need to have carried on spending the next 40 years trying to perfect it, you know, find out what it was that was stopping it running. You see, I taught it a different way. Because nobody could get it to run, I looked for the problems that were stopping it running. And that's how I found it. Many, loads and loads of tests and rig up different tests to see what would happen.
Did you ever see the crafts, the discs fly?
I saw two crafts, but off the top of my head, I'm not sure which numbers they were. One of them was very early day, was back around the early 50s. I was in the regular army most of the 50s, and so I couldn't spend a lot of time with John, but just before I went in, and when I come home on leave, I would join him, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the 50s, he had one of the first raids on him. I was home on leave at that time, and I was spending it with John at his house because I didn't have anywhere to go. And he had set up this thing to set this thing off. Next thing we knew, we got raided.
Mm-hmm. Did you see him control a flying levity disc? Did you see him controlling it with?
No, I see him work the equipment that control it. But you see the disc, once it got in the air, he actually shot away from him. He never controlled it beyond that point. He got it hovering, and then suddenly he gave it some power, and the thing just shot off, and he lost it. That was the trouble. This is where the problem is, but he tried not to admit it. See, he covered up. He was very good at convincing people.
But he certainly had the disc fly. It was hovering.
Yeah, he said, I've seen two take off, and he lost both of them, actually. And he put in the newspaper, a reporter put it in, about flying to Australia in about an hour from London or so. And I've got all that stuff, and the thing was, this thing is shot off at such a rate that 1 second and it's there. And next thing you just see is like a thin dark line, and it's gone. It's that quick.
Mm-hmm. So it works. The technology that he had works. He built this device that did levitate.
That was the lift was done with a tube that's similar, very similar to the old television tube, and it had loads of coils, and it caused the propulsion was caused by some flow. I don't know what it was, because in those days I was much younger, obviously, and the flush passed through it and through from the narrow end where the main electrics were, and then it comes out the back end, and it gave the thing the lift. But beyond that point, he had a gyroscope. I think that's what that looked made up of ring and rollers and stuff to make it run. There were magnets that makes it run. That's right, it's a gyroscope. And that, by tipping that gyroscope, it stirred the craft. That's it. So it worked, I remember now. Then he started using flaps. But the flaps, he didn't use them in the air. This is where he went wrong. The flap system, you don't use it in atmosphere. It don't work in space. You with me?
Yep.
Think about it. So he had to use a gyroscope, which had a balance weight which moved around, and by controlling where it went, the craft would dip its nose, the leading edge, downwards, and then it would push it along. So it flew, not dead level, it flew on a slight tilt. If you had a manned space in it, it would have to be on a hydraulic system to keep you upright all the time. You with me? Sort of like a ball underneath you. So it can tip, so whatever angle of craft went, you would always be upright.
Yep.
Pretty similar idea, the stabilizers they put on some of the cars. So when you went down the corner, the hydraulics would bump up on the side where the weight went, and on the side where it wasn't, it would lower the suspension, to bring it back level. You don't see it much now, but
I understand.
It never really caught on, I don't think.
How do we convince this generation of people who are interested in learning and that it's actually real and that you have something to prove that it did fly and that there are crafts that were made?
But this is where your problem is. I don't think you'll ever be able to prove to it, not to everyone at least, that the thing did fly.
Yeah.
We gotta pick up from where he left off and take. But the flying saucer side of it, I think that's dead. I don't think we can go any further ahead. But the ring and roller generator system would be the perfect thing for a flying saucer. For the powering of it.
Yes.
But for actually propelling it, I don't think he would do it with it. I think to be honest with you, I think he's kidding himself. It would work, but I can't see it because the way until you see the ring and rollers work, it's physically in front of you, not in the picture, but in front of you, it doesn't produce any thrust. It's a draft, and as the speed gets up, it gets to a certain point where thermal action takes place, and it all ices up. So he had some flaws. You with me?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
And I had to start finding ways around those flaws. But I'm a troubleshooter. I've made a lot of money in my life. Big companies have come to me with a manufactured problem where it's inherent. And no matter what they do, they couldn't solve it because they use theory. And I would look at it from a practical point of view. What would would happen if I did this? What would happen if I did that?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of saying, what does theory say? Oh, theory says you must do it this way, you must do it right. Now, just recently I've been watching this series on telly, on Sky, the science program. It's about the universe and the space shot they've done, going all around the universe. And I was over the moon when they scientists said, we found a planet towards the outer rim of the universe that does not respond to the law of physics. And I jumped out of my seat and I pinned my ears up, and then they found two more which are going in the opposite ways, but they're going together. They can't explain that. Then they found another one which has got a material, and no equipment they got on board could analyse what that material was. It just wasn't recognised. It didn't come up. They couldn't explain it. Now they said they want to try some shots, some special shots to land on those planets and see if they can identify it. You know?
Yeah. How do we go forward then with John Searl's technology? Or is there any information that we can add to the website?
He's got to change a bit of the technology because he's got to regulate it to stop it going into thermal overdrive, I call it, because the speed goes up a bit too much and then it ices up. And
but he did have vehicles.
The physicists have agreed with me up at the University of Cambridge laboratories when we was working up there with them, testing this. We proved to them that when you got to a certain speed, I can't remember the exact speed, they were doing all the measuring, they had all the gear, they got a massive magnetic section up there. Brilliant. I loved it. When we was working in there. But the scientists has pulled out of the scheme when those boys ripped off the company. So he pulled out, he didn't want to be associated with it, you know? Mm. But his name is on the paperwork. Mm-hmm. We had a contract, see, and on our letterhead, you see, it said that he was the visitor's consultant. I
understand. So, is there any video that you could share that doesn't disclose your patent information that we could put out there? So
that's what I said. All the stuff that I've collected together does not show what's making it work. It just shows that it will run.
Yeah. Do you have something like that we can show? Just the device that's spinning by itself?
Yeah. Well, that I've got, but really it's got to be a personal contact before I show it. And then you carry a disc away, but you don't put it straight on the internet until you've edited it down to give bare minimum, you know?
Yeah. Is there anybody that has done that?
If you get several minutes of something running, these experts can analyse it. You'd be surprised how quick they can analyse it nowadays with their computers. So we keep the clips, we try to get the clips down when it's going out for general issue to raise funds or anything. We keep them to a minimum to make it awkward for them to get continuity, you know what I mean?
Yes. Do you have any of those clips that you've already made available that are cut down that I can put on this website?
The thing is, at the minute, I've made up a disc which gives a lot of information. It explains that if you understand how the planets work, you'll understand how the ring of rollers work.
Yep.
They're on a it's very similar. Once you start looking into the science of the planets, then you look at some of these things working, you see what I mean.
Yeah, this information is very important to the world at large. I mean, we need to get it out there. Mm-hmm.
I don't mind releasing, quite a bit of stuff, but I'm going to have to be careful that I don't just over-release, because I want to keep a patent in place so the rich people who've got the power to make this stuff can't claw all the money back. That some of it's coming back to help those in need.
Exactly.
I want everybody to benefit, not just the see, free energy is one thing, but if they're making a fortune out of it, because they will, and it's not fair when they could be paying their license or royalties or something,
Yeah.
and that would go into a charity fund that would sponsor a lot of people who couldn't manage on their own.
I think you'll find if you have these devices working and you get them into the hands of these charities and these people, there's going to be monies coming in elsewhere for those charities, and having the free power to run their clean their water and keep their power. Who cares if some company makes $1 trillion gazillion dollars? It doesn't matter, as long as the people now have these devices. That's the important thing. People are going to steal money and make trillions of dollars. They're doing it all the time. But
it's not that. There's people like me. It costs about £100 a week for medical equipment stuff for me. Now, somebody's got to pay for that. Now, this is what the charity's for, to see that everyone who has a need will get that need satisfied.
Yeah.
We're not out for people who don't want to go to work. We're on about people who can't go to work. People who can't look after themselves. Soldiers and airmen coming back badly wounded. They need help.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they don't get help straight away. We want a charity that will go in straight away, not even go bankrupt before they step in to help.
But if they had a little device, that ran their power, and that would be
but it's
significant.
not just, you see, you've got yourself centered on the power,
Mm-hmm.
the energy.
Yeah.
But even if that's free energy, they would not profit by it, because they still got to live. They need food, they need medication, they need things that they've got to go to work and earn money for, but they can't go to work to earn money.
True.
So you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about it at the moment, but in this Scotland, disabled and elderly have been losing a lot of financial support and physical support now, because the money's so scarce. So the councils and the care people are cutting back. My care company to provide the care worker to keep me on my feet, they're withdrawing later this month. I've got a big meeting coming up with the council to see what they're going to do about it.
I think I'm sorry to hear that. I think if we could get even any company, even though they'll make fortune, to make these devices and get them into the universities, where the universities could study and use them and power their universities and equipment, then the monies that they're not spending on their electric bills could go to these charities and to help these people. I think when you...
The thing I'm worried about is that the people who manufacture these, if they pay a small percentage of their profits into a charitable fund, because there's a copyright involved, patent, whatever you like to call it, and it goes to a charity, you do both. The manufacturers, any new technology, they're going to charge the maximum they can. They don't care who their suppliers, they'll charge the most. I mean, disabled equipment is a lot more expensive than standard equipment, and sometimes it's 3-4 times more. So you need to, unless you're disabled, you won't notice the difference of overheads are for a living.
I think that problem will be solved when you get the energy into the devices into the universities, because I think that the monies that they're not having to spend to run their equipment and their facilities could be used to help out charitable causes, or pay for grants, college
that's what
grants.
we hope. But I don't think it'll work like that.
Well, that's human nature, and that and it should work that way.
It's human nature that's come in.
Right.
That's the trouble. See, we call ourselves mankind, but we're not really.
Yeah, not very kind. Yeah, I think if we could, we just need to get it made. And how do we get more information out there? I think the problem to even get people started to think about working on it is they can't get past the fact they don't believe that it's real. If you have any document,
No, there was an article in our paper the other week where some expert was saying that you can come up with the best invention you like, and they're going to boo it and do everything to discredit you because they never thought of it first. And even when they see it running, they will not be convinced until it's mass marketed and they find they've lost out on it.
Right. So we need to get the masses to be aware of it. And if you have any clipped documents or videos that show it running that doesn't disclose your patented information, that I can put out on the internet so that we can get these young minds believing it. They can't quite get to the belief to even put their effort in it. They could solve it and make it work, and we can get people to build it. But we have to get them to believe that it's real, and that if you
this is what I've been trying to do. Actually, I've published published a book, and the recordings of some of the experimental work. That I stuck solely to the generator. I stayed well away from the flying saucers. Everybody calls you a crank. And that discredits you when you got something that you might finally get into a practical, working model, as I say.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm stuck now because I'm trying to find if I can improve. I want to find out what variations I need to do to it. I got it running. Now I put a naught in there, an O. Then I put a plus and a minus sign. And then what I do, I'm a practical engineer, I'm not a theological one. Then I plus the thing, the specifications or whatever you like to call it, I plus it and try it again. If it runs, I move the naught to that point. You with me? That's your starting point. Then I'll take a plus again, and if it improves it again, I'll move the naught up until I start losing and that's the point I want to be. Now that means I'm going to get better performance from it. Then I might have to look at some other equation for it, you know what I mean? And I look at every possibility to get maximum energy from that machine.
So how do we get it to go forward? Because you're getting very old, and I feel like I'm old at my age already, and we have a younger generation that needs to keep it going. And if you go and that information gets buried, I mean, all of John's information is being pulled off the internet from other sources that had it. If we can make it accessible so that this technology becomes realized, and I think it's going to be a lot of people coming together to make it real, but anything that you have that we can share with others to get them to start thinking about it. Right now it's hard for anybody to even believe it.
I'll tell you what I shall do for you. The chap who does my Facebook, and he does internet and stuff to buy me stuff that I can't get over in the shop. I'll ask him to sit with me, and he's followed this work, so I'll get him to go through with me, edit it up, and then we'll see where we go from there. If he does it, remember that anything I do that involves any financial expense or income or anything, I have to pass it through him first, because they want to make sure I haven't been ripped off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and hopefully, if it's just free to the information to be posted on this SearlFX.com website to make it downloadable to the people, the young generation, the smart minds that need to develop this, it's going to be beyond your and my generation, and I think they need whatever they need to convince them that it's real and they can build this thing because
I think myself, having talked to you and being able to think back over the past and the old stuff I can remember quite a bit of, not all of it, but quite a bit. It's the latest stuff that I have to go to the records for because I don't remember them. Now, what I would do, I'll set up a plan for seeing if we need to get support around the world to find an alternative that functions in the same way as the neodymium. Now, I do explain in my book how the neodymium works and how we apply that the effects of the neodymium, how the effects affect the thing running. Now, what we need to do, we need to find a cheaper form of, so we don't have to do it just to, they'll build the whole time machines and they'll rip us off.
Yeah.
I've got to keep it out of the hands of the Chinese, that's the thing. And they're the only people who've got enough to build a massive number of machines. But we've got to find an alternative. And there could be one. And we don't know, it might be a combination of 2 or 3 materials, you know?
Some of the rare earth, some other rare earth that's not monopolized.
We might be able to get some of it, but they need to know exactly how to test it and what they're looking for. Now, I'll put that down in common English. So you don't have to be a scientist to know what you're looking for. Now, once you've got that, it's just a matter of then bringing it together with any standard magnet and then measuring to see does it pump up the magnetic power when the magnet is attached to it. Now, we all know, you know your loudspeakers and earphones, where it says they've got powerful magnets near dynamite. I never pronounced it properly, but magnets. Mm-hmm. There's no such thing as a neodymium magnet. They just put some of the powder into a standard magnet, and that multiplies the power. It increases the power. Now you need to know how that works. Now I've got that all down in technical drawings, how that works. Mm-hmm. Now, once I put all that together and say you're looking for a material that do exactly what this does, but this is you got to go to China and I want to build the whole generators. Right. You won't get a look in. Our own people won't be able to make a profit out of it because they won't be able to look in on it. There'll only be agents to sell it.
Yeah. So I understand that.
This is the problem, you see. Why we've got to keep control over it so it can be manufactured in our own countries. Each country should manufacture their own models.
Yeah, but I think the people need to understand it. Just few people have seen it and are convinced that it will work. I think if we can get some generic information out there that shows it running, you can get more people thinking about it, and then you'll come up with more solutions. But right now it's just, a few small groups that are trying to do it, and then
I will see that they see a sample of the thing. Yeah. The thing actually. Yeah. Running in the laboratory, right? But it's not complete with the regulators or anything.
That's all right. Just showing the concepts and getting people to believe.
It shows the concept how it runs.
Yeah.
No. What you got to do is say to them, to do that, you have to make the magnets extra strong, but they have to have a pumping action. without the pumping action, they just ain't going to work. Now, the secret is how you do the pumping action. Then you've got to have a regulator. Now, we solved all that. We get the pumping action, but we're using the dynamo, which makes it simple. The trouble is, we managed to buy a batch on the black market, and it cost a lot of money, but we managed to build the ring rollers that we need with this. The ring is pure, it's actually pure neodymium. It must not be a magnet in its own right.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing. The magnets run on it, but in doing so, they're separated by an insulator. And because they're separated, they don't stick to it. That's the first thing. Now, the second thing is, the neodymium. Now, when I was doing a brief outline of the technology that I was using, one of the scientists asked me a question. Mr. Searl, we all know that magnets that are moving will lose their energy. Slowly, but they'll lose it. Oh, yes. So I said, no. So I asked the board to put the bit of film, the DVD, a bit of film on, showing with it was done as a graphic expert, a friend of mine. He showed the scientific images of electrons and neutrons and all that flowing through the system. He'd done it all, so it actually moved. The whole lot moved. And when they saw it, they couldn't believe it. You see, it self-charges. The magnets re-stabilize themselves while they're running. And they admitted when they see the graphics of how it's working, and said, no, you won't get that problem, because when you've got a magnet pulsating, which is 12 times more powerful than the magnet that is causing it to become a magnet, now you see how awkward it is to explain. To explain to someone, if I said I've got a magnet making some neodymium into a magnet, and it's 10 or 12 times more powerful than the magnet that you're using to do it, they don't realise, because it's so much more powerful, it re-energises the magnet, which has got the lesser power, as long as it's pulsating. But if it's not pulsating, it won't.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
You see what I mean? It's as simple as that.
Can we?
And that's where John slipped up. He didn't grasp this one. I spotted it because I'm practical, you see. I'm not restricted by the law of physics or any theological. The first thing these experts ask me, where can we read about this? Now that's an expert's way of dealing with a problem.
I know, but we need the experts to be able to read the information. So you've written so much, and John has written so much, and even that graphic that you were talking about, can we put that out on the internet so people, because you said as soon as,
the graphics,
as soon as they saw that.
So it's sorted out.
Yeah.
And late in the month, you see, the chap who helps me with he's got power of attorney. He's a legal body, you know, but he's just had surgery for throat cancer.
I'm sorry.
So he can't speak over the phone very well. But what we can do, he can work the Facebook. He's the one who works the Facebook. So I don't know what's happening until he comes in to see me. But I'm trying not to come every day because, you know, he's not feeling too good. He's having radiation treatment, you know.
Yeah, sorry to hear that.
So I don't bother him too much. But he do come and see me once a week. And I'll ask him if he'll go through this with me. I'll show it on my big screen. I've got this massive Sony 4K screen, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we show it on there. You see, in fact, everyone who's seen it, scientists who saw it when I started up legal action, said it's the finest graphics they've ever seen, and it's so clear and precise that they realise I've seen things that the experts have missed.
Yes,
And that
that's brilliant. Can
they
we?
missed it because they're not looking for it.
But if you have it, and we can educate them by making it available on the internet for the world to understand the concept, I think you'll find that there'll be more charitable people interested in building this and giving their monies to something that's real and helping out the people that you're interested in helping too.
See, I was hoping that the lockdowns made that impossible for now. But I've been, since March last year, the start of March, I said lockdown because I'm a high risk. And I got heart trouble and strokes and all the rest of it. In fact, I'm a walking disaster, but I'm still here.
Amen. Let's keep information going. It's going to have to be passed on, and make it out on the internet.
Getting it all together. And
yeah.
I've got, like I say, I've published it, well, when I say, but I've got it all ready. Had 100 copies made up of the book and the disc.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't show you how you actually make the thing run. It just tells you the basics of the running, and then you've got this one ingredient that you have to add, and then the thing runs. But then that running isn't enough. You've got to regulate the damn thing, and that was the biggest headache of the lot. I tried so many ways of doing it, and I've done it the easy way. It didn't work. In the end, I had to use a much more elaborate way of doing it, and that worked.
Brilliant.
But then that's as far as I managed to get before the wife got dead, and I was left falling downstairs and off to hospital.
I'm sorry.
Police arriving to say that we had a burglary, but he didn't get nothing because I got this good sense not to keep it here, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Whatever you can share publicly to get the people inspired, that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm just making it available without any reservation. Just let them download your hard work that will disappear or will not get out to the people, which is your hope. And then making it work is the next step, but getting people to think about it, and then you get your group, you get enough people to say, yeah, this is real. How do we do this under these circumstances, to help out charitable causes?
But I just want to make sure that when production can be made, that the people who's going to make all the profit from producing this stuff pay back to the community a fund, make up a fund from royalties. So all those people who rely on charitable support will have the money there to give them that support.
Yes.
If I can do that, I kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
Those people who not disabled, healthy, working, earning money, paying their way to know a free energy.
Exactly.
But those that are unfortunate still got to live and survive. But they rely more and more on charities to help them because the government cutbacks and the councils are cutting back.
Right, but the monies will be available when this resource is available. When people are running on free energy, they have the power to run their buildings. Then they're going to be, the wealthy are going to have charitable monies, except obviously some of them that are already wealthy keep it to themselves, but maybe they'll pay a charity to help build them. Maybe a charitable company builds them, and then once they see it's real.
It's something that we need to look at. It needs all the heads involved sitting around a table and chewing it over and putting the pros and cons together and see which comes out on top.
Yes, but they need to be convinced that it's real. To get them together, they need enough information to see it happening. And then you can get a group together. Right now, the information we have is still not enough. They see things, but...
If I had a workshop, a skilled workshop, and a skilled magnetics company working under exclusive contract with security, I could get one built in about a month, complete, a working model. But I can't get anyone to sign up to a thing like that. They just want to cash in on it. They just want to take control of it.
I think enough people need to see it. So you've only showed it to a few people that responded that way. They see it, they're convinced that it works, and they say, no, I'm going to do it for my personal gain. But if you get enough people to see it, there's going to be a chance that there's someone that's not interested in doing it for their own personal gain. So we need to get whatever it is that convinced those greedy people, we need that information out to the world so that you can gather some not greedy people to make it happen.
Well, I just felt that now with the stroke and all that, I'm not in this person who can make a really good judgment on who I can trust and who I can't to do the right thing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's why I rely on my chap with a power of attorney to look at everything before I do it. You know?
Yes. So if there's anything that
when I'm buying anything like.
Yeah.
I've got some new furniture coming now because one of the chairs collapsed on the table when he sat down. It's a bit tired, so he flopped into the chair and the legs just went spread eagle and down he went.
Oh, goodness.
But I thought he's going to be badly injured, but I carry £120,000 third-party liabilities for anything happens to the property or people who's visiting me.
Yeah. So.
Or the property itself. That I might be liable for, yeah?
I understand.
Because I rent the place, see?
Mm-hmm.
And I carry that, but it's paid off. When a armed burglar broke in, and I nearly killed him with my karate, he thought because I was a pensioner, and I was in a plaster cast, he could take me out. He made a fatal mistake. I've been trained by the SAS because that's where I served in the 50s. And I've been taught in close quarter unarmed combat, and I remembered blow to the SearlFX plexus, and Kathleen wheels the same arm, going over the top, down on the collarbone, smash, and then as you bring your hand up to clear, you thrash it hard to your right and smash it in his face. He's had enough. And that's what I did.
With the plaster cast on, huh?
Yeah, and the knife was on the floor, his arm was hanging down, and he called the police and they told me he should sue me for the injury. I stood up in court and I said, sir, he would not have been injured if he hadn't tried to knife me. The court must decide, did he intend to stick the knife in me when he swung it, it went straight from my belly with it, and I kicked it aside with the left hand, and then with the right fist into the solar plexus, and then to make him drop the knife, I had to hit this and break his collarbone. You see, I can't run away, sir. Mm-hmm. I can only stand there and let him kill me.
Or defend yourself.
Right, he said in that case it was fair force, you know?
Self-defense.
And I got away with it. But that's funny in this job. The police don't like you doing their work. They hate it. They always prosecute you if you take the law in your own hands to save your own life.
Mm-hmm. Well, Peter...
Thanks for having a talk with me.
Yeah, you're very generous, Peter. You're very appreciated.
I'll take this serious, don't worry, because anything I can get, or someone who can lead a campaign,
yes,
I will always look at it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But I call in my chap because he won't like it if I go ahead and put something out there. Well, I can't put it on there in any case. He'll have to do it.
I'd like to help you do that. Whatever you feel comfortable giving to the world, that doesn't give away your proprietary information, but convinces them that it works. That's what we're trying to do, is let them start to study and understand it. We only have a few greedy people that we show it to try to get money to do it. But if you show it to the world, then these young minds can come up with a way of making it happen.
But you do understand, when I had, say, the start of the 2000s, I didn't have the skills to use the new internet systems,
Yeah.
So, and with the stroke in 2707, that finished me off completely on that.
I'm sorry to hear that.
But I still do my research work. I just have a bit of bother sometimes working the test jar to get the handbook and just check, because it's all laboratory stuff. It's like my sound systems in the lounge. It's all studio stuff. I got reel to reel. I got digital, all digital techniques, different things.
Mm-hmm.
I can put stuff in and take it out. The disc and the little cards and what have you.
Yeah.
And I got floppy disks. I got all the technologies, and they're all linked up. So you can. And I've got this big, massive sound system, this great big Sony screen to put it all on.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's very impressed when they come in there.
No doubt.
But I can understand why I got a little box at the end there, and it's got dozens and dozens of phono plugs in it and loads of switches. And what it does, it bridges all the analogs and the digitals to come together, either to record or playback.
Wow.
So you can record from analog to digital and process it digital, or from digital and de-process it to make it analog.
Wow.
And it's all, but when it goes through there, even the analog, you hardly notice the difference between that and the digital, because of the filtering, yeah?
Yeah, that's brilliant. So, however I can help, I would love to help. I'm studying your John Searl's Law of the Squares books. I'm going through those to understand.
The only thing I asked you if you can get for me is where he died. Was he still in America when he died?
Yes.
I know the last I heard was when he was in America.
I did. I got that information, and I called he was in San Diego. And he died of congestive heart failure. I called the San Diego hospital where he died. I found out, and it was I believe December 5th, 2018.
December the 5th.
Yeah, I believe so, or the 2nd. I think it was. It may have been the 2nd. I'll have to look. I have that information. Hang on a second.
Well,
I have it right here, as a matter of fact. I have that website, and SearlFX.com. So we're putting that, whatever information we can. He died on. Okay. Yeah, I don't see the exact date, but whatever we can do to get his information out here, I'm having it available, and if we can stay in contact to make available on the internet whatever you want to share, to convince people that it's real. That's what we're trying to do.
We'll see what we can put together for you.
Okay.
And now, was that 2018?
Yeah, December. I want to say the 2nd, actually.
Yeah.
2018. Yeah.
18.
In San Diego.
I wasn't told where or when. That night it got cut off, see?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It was December 2nd, I believe, 2018. It may have been the 5th of December. But I did call San Diego Hospital, and they confirmed that he died of a congested heart failure.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
Lovely. Do they issue death certificates there?
I only, I guess if you request it, I don't know the people who was in charge of helping him.
I was just wondering if you could act for me and send him over by mail, and then and the bill, and I'll get the money to you. Well, I can do it from my card.
Don't worry about that. If I can, I'll try to track down a death certificate from
I'd
the.
like to put him in. I've got all his birth and marriages and stuff, and his weddings and like in the family history, you see.
Yeah.
But we come down for a family known as Canning until we get to our mother. Then we changed on that. We went through the female line, which means we went by the women's name. So instead of married name. So instead of being a Canning, we know a Searl.
Uh-huh. I know John wrote so much about his history, and you know he wrote about you and your sister, and just I'm trying to go through his books and separate the science from the history.
If you come across Iris Rose, so you normally use the name Rose, and find anything about if she's died. It'd be out. My sister and I was very close, but we got separated after my big heart attack, and I've never been able to find her again. She got married again or something, and moved on.
If I see somewhere where John mentioned where Rose may be, I'll forward that.
Her full name was Iris Rose Priscilla Searl.
I'll have to help you if I find that. I'll send that through Facebook. But I'll also
sometimes put an E on, but officially our name hasn't got an E.
I understand at the end. Yeah.
Yeah. We got a coat of arms and all, which we traced. When we traced the family line, we've suddenly found out they had a coat of arms.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And I've got that coat of arms.
Interesting.
They're going to put it on my coffin.
Okay. Well, hopefully that's not for a long time.
Yeah. But I'll have to tell them to let you know if anything when something happens to me, because we got it all laid on, the money's up there, everything is organised, and I'm going to conduct my own funeral. Now that sounds daft. You see, I became a famous DJ and entertainer. That's under the name of Pete King.
Okay.
And it's under that name that a lot of firms got a license to use some of my developed systems, sound systems. That see, they all use what they call a preferred valued resistors and capacitors. But I stripped that away, and I searched the world and brought up piles of non-preferred ones, and I experimented with using one of these laboratory substitute for capacitors and resistors. Very high tolerance stuff, cost an arm and a leg.
Mm.
And I developed my own sound systems. And I made a name for myself with it.
Brilliant.
Just overnight, you know?
Wow. Excellent. Well,
and I've had several jobs. I've been a lorry driver, paramedic airborne. That's where I cut my teeth in the army. Mm-hmm. I was one of the first paramedics ever to fly into a battle zone to rescue wounded soldiers.
Wow. And
pack them up. And we had on our badge, not Royal Army Medal Corps, we had in Artis Fidelis. And I've lived by that code. And when I come to Scotland, where I am now, in 2018, they invited me to take the salute of the Veterans Parade. And I've got the picture the media took of me taking the salute.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to walk around the this big there, well, they call it a gala in Scotland. They call it a carnival in England. And they took me round the stalls to talk and to have pictures to promote the stall, but they're all charities, you know. And there was one little kid on the kiddies charity. Mister, did you meet any dinosaurs when you were young? Oh, yes, I said. I did. He said, what happened? I said, they took one look at me and they fled. That's why you don't see any now.
Okay.
The parents just couldn't stop laughing, you know. But he went away happy.
That's great. You and your brother have a lot in common. You're very unique individuals, and I have whatever I can get from the internet and so forth made available on the internet now. So anything you'd like me to add that you have that we can share to convince this young generation that this is real,
well,
I'd love to be able to do
you've
that.
got a lot of stuff on there. Some of it about John that I could find, and there's a lot of other stuff that got in the way, as I say.
Yeah, in his books.
Unfortunately, you better understand, I don't believe in God.
Mm-hmm.
My life has been so tough. I've been shot, I've been stabbed, I've had everything thrown at me. I've survived. Then I had heart attacks, I've survived. In the end, they took my wife because they couldn't beat me. Then, if that wasn't enough, early this year, February, they threw me over on my feet in the air, head down on the floor, and brought my body over my head till my chin crashed through my sternum, which is breastbone, shattered it right down the middle, and damaged my neck. But it did not kill me.
Wow.
And yet the surgeon said it should have killed me.
Wow.
When they scanned my neck and my chest. And I said, they won't kill me yet. They're finished with me.
Goodness gracious. Why would they do that? Who would do such a thing?
Well, it's not that. It's not interesting. There was a drug dealer put into a block of flats where I was living down in Thatcham. I was opposite me. And he had a gang of 13 lads, always around there. And when they moved all the adults out, because all their kids had got to the point where they were leaving home, stacking up with their girlfriends or getting married, so they moved them all out. But they left the wife and me, because I was disabled. They left us in the flat. So every time the police raided this drug dealer, they accused me. And in the end, they arsoned us. A terrible arson. The poor wife was terrified. But I put the fire out. When the fire brigade got there, they had to pump the stairwells out because they couldn't get to us because of the dangerous smoke that was in there. Rubber matting and like they burnt to try to stop anyone getting to me. Not realising I not only handled fires like that, I handled explosives. Part of my training. And I'm a trick to deal with it. Even now I can deal with gas bottles and stuff, no trouble. Mm-hmm. And what happened, for 2 years, they were threatening us. They caught my wife out in the street one day, four of the lads. They put a knife to her throat. I heard a scream. I turned around and see him. I just went in like a bull out of gate with karate. Bang, bang, bang. Police come arrested me for assaulting these lads. The fact they had knives didn't bother them. But because the sister was up there, got rid of that, the corpus, or however you pronounce it, they had to release me. And the wife was all right then. And then, in the end, they made a mistake. The police were afraid of them. Actually afraid of them because they had shotguns and God knows what. And then one Friday night, about 2 years after all this arson attack and the knife attack on my wife, a mate of mine was just left the regular army. He was in the same SAS regiment I was attached to. No, I wasn't an SAS sergeant. I was a medic sergeant working with the SAS as a paramedic, which was experimental at the time. So I had all the medic stuff, but I also had the parachute regiment stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had the other little badge with the dagger, you know. He who dares wins.
Mm-hmm. Peter,
that on there.
Peter, on that note, we're daring to win, and I so much appreciate your time helping discuss this information. I'm so
well, you're a lot further forward now, and nearer to getting some stuff. Some of this stuff must probably match up with stuff you've got, because it goes back mainly around the 90s.
Yeah. The earlier stuff, if you have anything like that.
You might find you got some of it.
Yeah.
But then you come forward and you to where I took over full time on just trying to develop the rest of it.
Okay. So whatever we can get to and convince the masses, that's what we're trying to do, that this is real technology, so we can inspire these young minds. They're hesitant. They can't get past being doubtful that it's even real.
If we want to build one, we've got to get some research unit of some sort, universities or something, with the young brains on it, to experiment, to sort out this problem of the rare earth.
Yeah, but
once you've got that sorted out, it'll be straight sailing.
Yes.
But you need to know exactly what you're looking for. You can't magnetise the material direct. It only magnetises when you put an ordinary mag against it. But you've got to keep it separated with an insulator. By doing that, you increase the power. You actually increases the power by 4. And when you see how it works, you'll see why it works. No.
Yes, if we can get that video that you
now increase that magnet by a good 4 times the strength. But in doing so, because it's now a lot stronger than the one that you're using to magnetise it with, under normal position, when a magnet moves, it loses some of its magnetism. So, but this thing, because it overpowers what we call the mother magnet, the one that's the permanent magnet, is overpowered. So it's recharged like a battery. Yeah. When the battery goes down, any charger will suddenly start charging it up.
From the neodymium. The neodymium, electrons from the neodymium are recharging the plate.
At the minute, the only thing we can use at the minute is that we're not going to the Chinese to get it, because they'll insist on manufacturing, because we want a hell of a lot of it. Now, they bloody banned the export of it, only limited amount on the license. And they only use a small amount of the powder in each magnet to produce the higher powered magnet. You with me? Yeah. They can use it for headstones and things like that. That just wants a permanent magnet. I don't want a permanent magnet.
Right.
I want a magnet that changes its characteristics when in use.
Yeah.
And I get that. But you've got to see the graphics. And when you see the graphics, it becomes as clear as daylight.
That's what we need.
What's going on.
That's what we need.
And then you say, well, look, you've got more power coming back to the mother magnet than it's going from the mother magnet to that. So sure enough, it's got to recharge it.
Yes.
You've got to re-energize it.
That's what people need to see. That's what we need to see, and we need to get to the universities, because they're not going to move unless we show them that. The physics. They want to see the math and the physics, and they say, okay, I understand this.
You'll be given some samples of getting a little strip of neodymium, and then you get a real magnet, a rod that you can magnetize it, and you put it on it. and then you play an insulator on it, insulating material, a bit of plastic or something, and then you put the roll on it. And you suddenly find that as that gets a bit thicker, there's a limit, mind you, there's a ratio which we really need to test to see what the maximum ratio is between the thickness of the insulators, we call it.
Yeah.
But we call it a dielectric because we're using it as a capacitor to store some of the energy. So when you're drawing more current than the thing is actually producing, it'll draw the current out of that what I call insulator, or you see. But we'll give you the pages of how I describe it. What it has to be. It has to think it's a generator. It has to think it's a motor. It has to think it's a capacitor. It has to think it's something else, and this is what it has to think it is.
Yes.
It has to think it is. Now, that's the only way I can describe it, because that's how it's got to act. You with me?
Yes, I am.
We've got around 6 technologies now, all acting in their own right, but together.
Interesting.
In harmony.
Beautiful.
And the interaction of these harmonies, of the technologies, as making the thing work.
Yeah. That's brilliant. It's brilliant.
It's regulation, that's the next problem.
So
that's all sorted out. That's ready to roll any time.
Yeah.
So I built this mock-up, what I call this, and it'll be a live thing. It will produce that instead of using single induction coils, I got multiple induction coils. So some were in the regulator circuit, and some will work in the drive circuit, and some will be in the generator circuit. But they'll be all wound for different voltages, you see. And it all goes in one place. But once you see it, it starts making sense.
Brilliant.
Because all the technologies that's used are already out there.
Right.
And they all work.
Yes.
What the problem is, if I explain to them exactly how you bring them together, they won't need me.
Well, don't tell them that part.
Get a fortune out of it.
Yeah, don't tell them that part.
You and I won't get any benefit of it.
Yeah, that's the hard part. But if you can convince enough people of the different components and how that's what you're using, and they understand it's real physics, then you can get more minds together to get past the hurdle of the greed. But we got to convince the most people.
In the past was that if you go on one of the science programs, and you demonstrate on the science program. Now I got some footage of John being interviewed for his flying saucer in a TV broadcast. Wow. I got the footage of the actual broadcast.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Now that's going back a few years, I'll tell you. And you've got this little flying saucer beside him.
Yeah.
And it wasn't fully equipped. It was just the shell of it. He didn't want anyone to see the work.
Right.
Of course, that one, he hadn't got that one flying yet. It's all new. But they had this expert there making a fool of him, yeah.
Right. But I whatever we can share and that you think that would help your cause and move this technology forward so that the people can, the scientists,
we'll take my time. I'm not a rush.
Yeah, right.
I'll wait till George, that's his name. Maybe we can sit down together and we'll go through the book and the DVD, and I say to him, we need to edit this down and put it together as a DVD, so I can send him a DVD. So I don't want to put it on the internet until he might not want to use it all. He might think he'll hold something back.
Yeah, do that. Keep what you feel that you need to keep back.
I'll tell you what I feel we can let you have. But then you need the re-editor to see which is that you're not going to just sell yourself out straight away. You've got to look at it from from a manufacturer's point of view. Can I manufacture this and cut all the middlemen out?
I see.
You know, and then they rub their hands into it and they dance the Okie Tokie or something. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right.
So mad.
Whatever you think we can share with the world for free that won't disclose your proprietary information, then let's get that out there that convinces them that it's real.
I'd like to be alive to see the first model in use.
Yeah, I agree. I would too.
As the days go by, I'm having more and more difficulty because I don't know anyone in Scotland. When the wife asked me to bring her up there to her family, the family were all over me, and we were getting on well with everyone. But when she dropped dead, and I gave them all of us to do with her bank account. I let them have all her jewellery, and she had collector's dolls. I'd done everything for them. I treated them to this and treated them to that. And then, when they realised I wouldn't be able to pay for the holidays each year, they turned nasty. And they told me straight, you're not a blood relative, so we put up with you because it's our auntie. Now, then, Christmas last year, Pam's sister, she's in the 90s, she's older than Pam was, she wrote me, and really, she sent me a very expensive card and a load of buttering up inside. Sorry about the loss of Pam, I'm sure you're missing her like we do. What she was trying to do was to get me back in the fold to give her money again. I didn't fall for it. They've already disowned me. I found that you're better to cut your losses, you know?
Yeah. It's difficult. I do appreciate everything you've done and so much time you spent with me talking. Peter, I'm talking to you on my cell phone, and I have an iPad kind of videoing the SearlFX website, but I'm wondering if I'm recording, I'm hoping it's recording our conversation so I can listen to it again, some of the things that you've said.
Oh, that'd be an idea, yeah.
Is it, I can send this recording to you as well, and I'd like to know, maybe someone else would like to hear from you as well. Maybe the world, I can make it available so people could listen if they want to this conversation that we just had.
What we talked about hasn't given away any real clue.
No.
Some of them, some ideas to experiment with, it's one of these things that are so simple that you just don't think of it.
Yeah.
You know, how can I explain? It's the simple things that buggers up the experts. I've won 90% of my court cases on what they call technical points, where the big expert barristers and solicitors who know it all, they've been doing it for years and they've never lost. Suddenly find that I think outside the box, and I think of something so simple, and I address the court, and I ask the court if they hear a point of law, and if the court upholds that point, I've won my court case, because they can't fight on now, because the court's made a decision on a particular fact, and that fact is the one that's being contested. You with me?
Yes.
So now he's made the decision, so that puts an end to the case, and I win my case.
Right. Yep. That's what it is. It's the technical.
I better let you go. I'm sorry I've held this so long, but
it was a pleasure. Pleasure.
You know what I say? The first encounter is usually the longest.
Yeah.
Because you try to understand each other.
You're so kind to share your time with me, and thank you for responding. It's interesting. I threw that out there about February last year. I saw you, and you look so much like your brother, and just asked.
I don't know about now I'm a bit battered and getting a bit baldy, losing my hair a lot, but you never know. I can.
It's brilliant.
What I'll have to do is I'll send you a photo of me as the famous disc jockey and entertainer, and I'll send you one of me on that parade with the trolleys from the other units, the serving units, you know, and I was representing the veterans.
Yeah, that would be great. Yes.
Yeah, one officer come up to me. He was a medic, and I was surprised, a captain. acting captain, you know, he's the actual full-time captain in the army. And he come up to me. He was looking after a unit of medics that was out there providing first aid cover for the carnival. They call it a gala. And he said to me, I'm baffled by your badge. Why doesn't it say Royal Army Medical Corps? It says on your shoulder flash that your hat badge and your other badge don't say that. It says it's got the logo and it's all the same, but it says in Ardis for Dulles. Why is that? I said because we always had that if you was in the pioneer unit, that proof that us medical staff should be the same as a paratrooper, parachuting and be where the boys are when they're in action, when they need extra medical help, yeah?
That's brilliant.
Set up a field unit right behind the enemy, right behind the lines for them. And that's what we did. We were the pioneers. Boy said I was reading about that some while back, about the pioneers. So you must have been in there in 51. I said, yeah, that's it, career. Oh, gosh, he said, that goes back a bit. I said, yeah, everybody's forgotten that war. I said, I haven't.
We're Carvana, the company.
Well,
I'll let you, and I'm sorry I took this so long. But
not at all. Thank you for your service, sir, and thank you for everything.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that we can keep this dialogue going. I'll try to.
And everybody calls me Pete.
All right, Pete. Pete King,
I
huh?
prefer to be called that. And,
Okay.
And I'm sorry, but you have to tell the operator because we had several attempted scams, and I spotted them because I've got a little process when I get calls I don't know.
Oh, no worries, no worries. I thank you for taking my call.
So they know they put the check on it, you see, because we caught the scammer on this one.
Yeah.
And we say it was to do with the internet connections, so they say that my internet connection was faulty. And
Oh,
they'd been asked by my provider, so I said, which one? The one for my business on the ground floor, or the one, my private one upstairs in the